Hello, everyone, and welcome to a very special edition of the Dream Star Grand Prix Daily Review Series here for the 2025 tournament. It is day two of the tournament. This happened on Sunday, but the video on demand became available here on Wednesday over on Wrestle Universe. So we are covering it here now. This was a two-match lineup. You had Chanyota versus Misa Matsui from the Star League and Utami Hayashishita versus Chiaki from the Dream League. So for these shorter ones, it'll be a pretty short recording overall, but ultimately that's how it goes. There's not too much to dive into here. Pretty simple, pretty by the books. But I thank everyone for jumping in. And if you're interested, the Stardom Cork and Hall review will be up a little bit later as I can watch that full show and review it. But wanted to make sure I got this one up first, as it's just two matches, and we want to keep on track with everything. So thank you, everyone who continues to support, who continues to listen to these daily reviews. It means the world to me, as I keep saying. Because it really does. It really does. And doing this content has been a lot of fun, and reading your comments has been a lot of fun. So I ask you to continue to do so. If you watch this show, or if you are looking forward to something more and more here in this tournament, please let me know. I think that's part of the fun, is looking forward as much as is watching the actual matches. So I'm excited to see where we go next in terms of this tournament. But let's get to the two matches. We won't do the whole MVP slot. I think just with two matches based on the first day, not too much has changed. So we'll keep it pretty simple, pretty close, pretty tight, and we'll move forward. So let's talk about it. It was day two of the Dream Star Grand Prix here. Like I said, just two matches this past Sunday, and it started with none other than Chanyota versus Misa Matsui. Both of them coming off big first days, as Matsui had defeated Miku Aono in her opening match before losing in her second match, while Chanyota defeated Mai Sakurai in her opening match. And also went 2-0, beating Kazuna Tanaka in the second half. So she had been leading the Star League going into this match, the only wrestler with 4 points, which I find to be a pretty important part. This was, of course, was in Hiroshima. This is an important match for both of them. Chanyota is trying to continue that momentum, while Misa Matsui is trying to get back on the winning track after having already earned the win over Miku Aono. And overall, the match ended up being a solid little encounter. Misa Matsui worked on the right arm of Chanyota, which is, of course, the lariat arm. But Chanyota, in her strength and her power, continued to work through that. She sold it throughout the match and dealt with the pain of that, but continuously hit Misa Matsui with some big, massive lariats to keep it going. Matsui would come back, though, with her offense overall and really, really bring it to Chanyota, who was on the back foot for the middle aspect of this match. She hit her signature cross body, but eventually the power of Chanyota was going to be too much, and that's exactly what it was. The power took over this match after she got out of the armbar submission that Matsui put on. She hit a massive lariat that turned Misa Matsui inside out, and then towards the end of the match, hit the jackhammer. I thought it was over there, but it was only a 2 count as Matsui survived. Chenyota had a little shock on her face, trying to get into the next step, right, where she hit that modified Blue Thunder Bomb to beat Mai Sakurai on Saturday. So maybe we were going to go back to the well there. But ultimately, the way this match came to a close was Chanyota, after trying to think of what's next. Misa Matsui shocked everyone, bringing her, grabbing her by the arms with her legs and putting on the bridge to get the victory and steal a win from Chanyota. That's the only way to describe this match. The way Chanyota had been working in that closing stretch, it looked like she was on her way to victory. But Misa Matsui earns her second win of the tournament, getting to 4 points and now tied atop the Star League with Chanyota. So that's a big, massive win for Matsui, who's now at 2-1, just like Chanyota, heading into day 3 and beyond. So a big time win there. Anyways, we move forward now here with what was the second match of the show, the second tournament match, and that was Utami Hayashishita, the Marigold World Champion, going one-on-one with Chiaki. Chiaki was coming off an 0-2 opening night, losing to both Sari Yamaoka and Victoria Yuzuki, and it was not going to be easier for her there, as she had to now take on Utami Hayashishita, the champion. Now, Chiaki has slowly grown through the matches, right? The first match, she kept it pretty clean against Yamaoka, but then she really dialed up the heelness against Victoria Yuzuki. That continued to be the case here against Utami, attacking her before the bell, the same thing that Rhea Seto had did on Saturday, and really bringing it to Utami, who was on her back foot the entire match. It was very rare that Utami got much offense at all in this match. This was a heavily dominated match by Chiaki. Once she got that open foot, she used every heel tactic. Even when Utami finally started to get the upper hand, she went back to heel tactics with a ref bump. She got thrown into chairs, but then we had some power spots between the two once they got back into the ring, running into each other with some shoulder blocks and so on. Ultimately, that's when Utami won through, but that's when the ref was taken out. Chiaki attempted to use the chair, but she was instead lifted in German suplex by Utami, who kept herself alive for just a bit longer. But Chiaki would come back around with the ref still out, get the advantage, and hit a JP coaster for a great near fall. But the match ended when Chiaki got caught. She got caught running, whereas Utami hit the torture rack bomb kind of out of nowhere and pinned her for the win. A heavily dominated match by Chiaki, one that she looked like she could pull off the biggest win of her career to this point, but it would not be. Ultimately, for Utami, this was the continuation of following up, that tough loss to Victoria Yuzuki in the opening show main event, to now winning back-to-back matches against both of Darkness Revolution's competitors. So I think that's an important aspect of this conversation. I think that's an important aspect of this, is now she is back right on the horse, no problem whatsoever. After the initial struggles, things turn around, things get going. So let's quickly now we'll quickly look at the stats for the Dream Star Grand Prix, of course, because this is now 3 days in, so we have a good grasp of where we are within the tournament, and we'll head over to the weekend here in a second. But let me make sure I can share that correctly. Dream Star. There we go. So thank you to Peps once again for putting this together. So the Dream League is followed. You have Suri Yamaoka, Utami Hayashishita, and Victoria Yuzuki all at the top with 4 points. Of course, both Yamaoka and Yuzuki sit at the top undefeated with the 4 points. Koki Amari, Maria, and Mayu Utani all with 2, while Chiaki and Rhea Seto sit at the bottom with 0. You then have Chanyota and Misa Matsui tied atop the Star League with 4 apiece at 2-1 apiece. You have Mirai sitting there at 101, so she has 3 points. And Gochika, Mai Sakurai, Nagisa Nozaki all have 2, while Miku Ano has 1, and Kenzuna Tanaka has 0. In terms of the time in this tournament so far, you also have Misa Matsui leading that case with a 10-minute average, while Chanyota's right behind her. Obviously, both of them having the 3 matches. Utami, even with 3 matches, has less time in the tournament overall than Miku Ano, which I think is an important part of all this. But that is it. So, like I said, some of these reviews are going to be quick. Some of these reviews are going to be like that because, there's not a lot going on. There's 2 matches, 2 tournaments, and that is the way it goes, or 2 tournament matches, I should say. So that is the way it goes. We'll be back on late Saturday. I think day 3 will be uploaded right before day 4 goes live from the Sendai pit, so we'll have that up almost immediately, and then we'll have the Sendai pit up on Sunday. So thank you everyone for listening. I hope you enjoyed these shorter ones. These Dream Star shows with just 2 matches will be on the shorter side consistently, so hopefully you get a grasp of that. But I appreciate everyone for joining me. Let me know what your thoughts were on the 2 matches below from this Dream Star Grand Prix Day 2 occasion, and I'll be back within hours to get to the Stardom Korakuen review up. But if you're waiting for more Marigold, we'll be back on Saturday night / Sunday morning. So thank you everyone for listening. And until next time, so long. See you later. Bye bye.